Have you seen Dweezil play though? Have you gone to see Dweezil?
Yeah, I've seen him twice. Yeah, I've seen him twice. Been fortunate enough to see him twice. The first time he was stellar, absolutely brilliant. Second time I didn't think as good. I didn't think the band was as good for some reason. I don't quite know why. But the first time I saw him, I took a couple of friends. One who knows Zappa as long I phoned this guy up the very first day I heard my first Frank Zappa music, and he brought him round to the house and said, listen to this. So he's been with me since the very start, and he loves Zappa, and he got it all. And took a friend who doesn't really know Zappa at all, and the only reason we took him really was that he lived right next door to the venue, so it would have been impolite not to offer. And he came out, his mind was blown. He came out absolutely agog at what he'd witnessed, and he said, was Frank as good as that? And I said, the difference is that Frank used to restyle the songs, so you would never hear the album version when you went to see Frank. You would get some reggae version of your favourite heavy song, I said, but yeah, Frank was that good. Frank could do all of that. What Dweezil does is he plays the album versions. He learns and plays the album versions, and it's spooky to watch him play guitar because it's so close. It's so wonderful. Yeah, it's great. Really good to see.
The first time I saw them, they opened for Dream Theater.
Yes.
And that was that they had Steve Vai guested on guitar for a couple songs. Mike Portnoy came out and played drums on a few songs. They had Napoleon Murphy Brock was playing flute and saxophone and singing.
Oh, wonderful.
So and they had this trombone player, this younger guy, who does Frank's voice like perfectly. So it was him and Napoleon Murphy Brock were doing the vocals.
Oh, wow.
It was really good. And then the time when I saw them, I saw them twice where I really thought they were mind blowing. And one time I saw them, I haven't gone back because it was so poor. Like it was, so the first time I saw them on their own tour, like doing their own thing, they were playing Apostrophe start to finish, which was great. I mean, Apostrophe is a great album. And the only song they messed with was St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, which they played like a 5-minute longer version that you normally hear live, which I thought was great because the song, I don't like the way the song ends. Like the song ends with like the horseshoe or the snowshoe part, like that. Good morning, your highness.
Yeah.
I brought you your snowshoes. That part. Yeah. You could tell something great's about to happen, but the song fades out.
Right.
And but live, something great does usually happen. So they played the live version when I saw them live, which was really cool. But then I saw them play Roxy and Elsewhere again, and they still had the xylophone player. They still had Joe Travers on drums, and it was really good. Like it blew my mind. I couldn't believe how good that was. Like their version of Son of Orange County, oh my God, it killed me.
Yeah.
And so they came back around about 3 or 4 years later doing One Size Fits All, which is like one of my favorite Frank Zappa records from that era, like the prog rock era. That's probably my favorite. And they just butchered it. It was terrible. And they got rid of the xylophone player and had the Sheila Gonzalez play all the xylophone parts on her keyboard, which just killed that. Like it didn't come across nearly as vibrant and lovely. And it just, I don't know, it didn't sound good. Like everything was off. Like the sound mixing was off, the playing was off. I left it like with a bad taste in my mouth. So when they came back around to do Freak Out, I didn't even bother going because I'm like, I can't see them do to Freak Out what they did to One Size Fits All. That would just make me cry.
Well, I've heard that band with Sheila Gonzalez play some of the One Size Fits All stuff, and it's really good now. So I think maybe if she was maybe new or something like that.
Oh, she was good. No, Sheila was always. I've always seen Sheila. Like she's always been there when I've seen them. But her playing the xylophone parts on the keyboards was an obvious, like right off the bat. I was like, something's wrong here.
Right.
And there was just something off. It could have been like the first night of the tour for all I know.
Yeah.
But Sheila
might have been.
I've never seen Sheila Gonzalez do anything that's not amazing. Like she always is the highlight of the show.
Yeah, she's great.
And this doesn't apply to her nowadays, but when I first saw her like 15 years ago, she was overweight. Like not hugely overweight, but maybe 20, 30 pounds overweight, Right. And so she comes out and she's kind of chubby. And so she doesn't have like that vibrant look to her that you usually see on stage, because most women on stage are fucking 10s out of 10, right? And she wasn't. She was like a 6 out of 10, right? But by the time she was done her first saxophone solo, she went from looking kind of homely to looking like the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. even though she hadn't changed her appearance. She just proved to me she's one of the greatest musicians on the earth. So like all of a sudden she became gorgeous to me.
Right.
And so,
Isn't that
and
strange?
my friend experienced the exact same thing. So we refer to that, we affectionately refer to that as the Sheila Gonzalez effect. So
Right.
if
I've
someone
never thought of that before. I never thought of that. That's a new one on me.
there you go. Yeah. So him and I, when we if a woman or a man, but mostly women in our case, we find them more attractive after we realize they're talented. When we see their talent. We call it the Sheila Gonzalez effect.
The Sheila Gonzalez effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one of those recently. I was watching Nolan Potter's band, the
All right.
Nolan Potter's Nightmare band, and there's a guitarist there, and I just was getting the vibe from this guitarist that he was kind of following along. You know, he wasn't really a powerhouse. He was kind of following along, and there was something weird about the way he was playing the guitar, which I later figured out. I think he plays some kind of open tuning, but he was watching Nolan Potter all the time, and he was sort of. I thought he's kind of following, and then he ripped out his solo, and my opinion of him completely changed. So you're right. I had a Sheila Gonzalez moment, but I didn't recognise what it was because I'd never heard that phrase. I bet the Germans have got a word for that. The Germans have always got a word for everything. But how would you explain it to ChatGPT, the Sheila Gonzalez moment? ChatGPT could probably help us out with that one. There would be a word in some language somewhere that it would know, and it would say, "Oh yeah, the word you want is kabimblink." Oh right,
Well,
Sanskrit.
Drew and I used to make those comments. Drew is the guy that agreed with
Yeah.
me on the Sheila Gonzalez effect. Him and I quite often, under heavy psychedelic experiences, we'd come up with a moment where that needed a word, and we'd be like, "We should make the word for that," you know. And we always, by the time we sobered up, we'd forget the like the context of what the needed a word, you know, because that would be a great thing to hang your hat on, to know that before you die, there's a word in the dictionary that you invented.
You know? Yeah, well, I've got a couple.
Cool.
I invent words quite often. Never thought of it as a thing, but when I'm titling things, I quite often come up with words that I don't know I either don't know what they mean, or it turns out they have no meaning. They're just completely new. Or that there's like on Google there'll be one other person's used that word, and you go, is that like a hidden word that only he and I know? Supernuminal was one I came up with, which means numinal means of God. So supranuminal is above God. So, but there's only one other instance of that I can find on Google. And what was the one I came up with the other day? It's not a word, but it's the name of a university in the States. I didn't even know what it was, but this word came to my mind, and it's on that track that I sent you. It's about Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
Purdue,
Okay,
Purdue University. Purdue. I don't know what that word is, so I looked it up, and it turns out it's the university that the first and last men who stepped on the moon went to. So it was pertinent to the song because the song features the moon.
Isn't it French for alone or sad or something, or
Purdue,
lost?
It's French for lost, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be lost. Yeah.
Purdue.
Yeah.
I think that's PER though. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, we used to do that in the band all the time. We used to the ediminaru, and is an invented word, and all the time. We weren't thinking about search engine optimization in those days, but these days I always think never make a title just some kind of phrase that people look up. Always try and have something in it that's different, you know, so that people can find it. When I'm dead and gone, they can do a search and go, there it is.